The Clean Green Recycling Machine, Recylobots, inspired by Putra al-Hakim, Muhammad Danish Irfan, Muhammad Adrikin, and Muhammad Iman Ghazi. "Oh no!" Mazlan shouted in frustration as he fell flat on his back after stepping on a banana peel. "Why does this have to happen every single time? Why can't everyone throw their rubbish in the bins provided? Why is rubbish strewn all over the streets?" Mazlan started muttering to himself as he walked back home, feeling frustrated and dejected. He was disappointed that people were not taking care of the environment. Mazlan trudged home with a heavy heart. "I need to do something about this," Mazlan told himself. As he saw the advertisement for the annual Young Inventors competition at the Void Deck, an idea struck him. What if I created a robot that could help clean the environment? I could submit my work to the competition and everyone will benefit from it, Mazlan exclaimed excitedly. With his new idea, Mazlan immediately whipped out his phone and signed up for the competition. Over the next few days, he searched the neighborhood for pieces of scrap metal and wood. He planned to build a robot with the materials he painstakingly collected. After much tinkering and experimenting, Mazlan finally assembled his robot a day before the competition. He called it Recylobot. It was 2 meters tall with bright yellow retractable wings. Like all good inventors, Mazlan decided to test out his invention. He brought his Recylobot to the Void Deck and turned it on. To Mazlan's surprise, Recylobot zipped about quickly in different directions. It could collect rubbish on the street faster than he programmed. In addition, Recylobot's wings worked well. He designed the wings to function like an air purifier, filtering the dirty air. His invention was a success. Just looking at Recylobot moving around at lightning speed made Mazlan feel a sense of achievement. The next day, Mazlan brought Recylobot to the competition. Everyone was amazed by his inventiveness. The judges were impressed too, and Mazlan won the competition hands down. A reputable company was interested in his design and promised him that they would produce more Recylobots that were affordable. Glad to hear that his invention would help more people soon, Mazlan readily agreed. Today, Recylobots are available to the public. They are now used on streets and in parks to keep the environment clean. Mazlan is very proud of his invention and hopes to invent more items that will help the environment. Whenever someone asks Mazlan how he came up with the design for Recylobot, he will reply, "A banana peel inspired me."
The Environmental Adventures of Recycle Girl. Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Sophia. Sophia lived in a small town in Africa and had luscious long, brown locks. Sophia enjoyed helping the people from her town. She helped the grandmother next door water her plants. Every day, she would help the elderly cross the street. She even helped the garbage man pick up trash from the ground. Everyone knew Sophia and loved her. They always complimented her. "You're a special girl." They were right. When Sophia turned 12, she realized she had a special ability. Her eyes could shoot lasers at litter and send them straight into the recycling bin. Sophia felt empowered and ready to help her town with a recycling initiative. The town folk gave her a superhero name, Recycle Girl. They would inform Sophia whenever they saw something who did not abide by the recycling rule. "Sophia, did you heard about Michael, the guy who lives five blocks away?" exclaimed Mrs. Jones one day, as she ran towards Sophia with a distressed look. "No, I have not." "What's wrong?" asked Sophia. "He started to spring clean his house, and threw away a lot of stuff. Some of these things can definitely be reused, so you need to help him. Sophia pursed her lips in concern. She gave Mrs. Jones a nod of thanks and went to assess the situation. Arriving at the scene, Sophia caught Michael red-handed. Michael was dumping cardboard boxes and plastic bottles behind some trees. Michael, you should not be throwing out those items which can be recycled, said Sophia. Michael jumped in surprise, shocked at Recycle Girl's appearance. Confused, he asked, "Why not? I needed to clean my place." "Have you not heard of recycling? The world is currently facing a global warming issue and we need to do our part to save our environment. Where do you think everything you throw goes away?" Sophia asked, her voice full of concern. Michael simply shrugged his shoulders and shook his head. Sophia was astonished. "Your trash will be dumped in a landfill. It gets incinerated. This is very bad for the environment because it causes air pollution and global warming. Doesn't that sound terrible?" lectured Sophia.
Michael nodded and asked, "What can I do?" "First, let's sort out your trash. We can reuse these items. This cardboard box can be used to organize your items at home, and this plastic bottle can be a flower vase. We can recycle these soda cans and bottles by throwing them in the recycling bin. Most importantly, you should reduce the amount of rubbish you have, Michael," Sophia advised. Michael felt enlightened and got to work. He separated the recyclable materials and threw them into the correct bin. He also took out some boxes to reuse. Sophia was heartened by the sight and had an idea. With a quick snap of her fingers, she handed Michael a device to help with his recycling endeavors. "Here's my favorite invention called Change Me. Simply put the plastic into the corresponding tubes and you can easily reuse the plastic," explained Sophia. "Sophia, thank you for teaching me about reusing, reducing, and recycling. I'll think twice before disposing my trash next time. You're my heroine," thanked Michael. Sophia smiled and gave Michael a hug before moving on to her next adventure.
A Good Deed for the Environment, inspired by Aliyah Zulaika, Nadira, Arafa Almira, Arisha Reis, Sumaya, and Nur Isha Dashika.
"Hello, BBR. Haven't heard from you in a while,"
greeted Lily.
"Lily, I need your help. My machine broke down and I don't know what to do,"
cried BBR. BBR was Lily's friend who used to work at a water purifying company. His job was to clean waste oil and used water so that the water could be reused. Lily sprang out of her seat, put on her flying suit, and flew to BBR's apartment immediately. Upon arrival, she saw BBR in tears.
"What's wrong?"
Lily asked with concern. BBR looked up and said,
"The filters in my machine haven't been used for a while, so when I tried to purify the dishwashing water I collected, the machine made a horrible sound and broke down. Could you help me fix my filters, please?"
"Don't worry, BBR. I'll get these rusty filters fixed in no time."
Lily rolled up her sleeves and got to work. Upon inspection, Lily realized dried oil and debris had clogged the machine and was hindering it from filtering the dirty liquids. With a quick snap of her fingers, Lily cleaned up the mess in BBR's filters. They looked shiny and as good as new. BBR smiled and thanked Lily gratefully for her speedy assistance. Meanwhile, Lily could not help but ask BBR about his previous job. BBR's face fell and he said,
"I was fired. The machines were acting up and I could not repair them quickly enough. How I wish I could find another job. I really want to help the environment like the good old days, reusing and recycling different liquids."
Lily had an idea. She made a quick call to the town mayor. Then both of them headed to the town mayor's office.
Mayor Chris, this is the friend I was telling you about. BBR is able to collect dirty liquids and distill them by separating debris from the purified liquid. I believe BBR would be a fantastic addition to the town's environmental efforts,
Exclaimed Lily.
Wonderful! Just when you needed someone to help with the town's water and oil purification systems. BBR, I'm so happy to have you on board. When can you start?
Asked the mayor with a twinkle in his eye.
Now?
BBR said incredulously.
Follow me. I'll show you around the factories.
The mayor said eagerly. BBR was over the moon. He thanked Lily and gave her a big hug before skipping off with the mayor. Lily watched Mayor Chris and BBR enter the factory enthusiastically and smiled to herself. She was glad to have helped a friend, whilst accomplishing another good deed for the environment.
The why in recycle is you. Litter was scattered everywhere. Heaps of rubbish piled up high, almost reaching the sky. I noticed how the rubbish resembled mountains, albeit made of aluminum cans, plastic bags, and other waste. The pungent smell of rubbish made me sick to the stomach. I detested the place I was in. "This is the work of man," a voice thundered behind me. I turned around and saw a magnificent robot. He had a rectangular face and a body clad in fancy armor. A portion of his armor was matte black, while the other half was aquatic blue. "Who are you?" I asked in bewilderment. I had never seen anything like him before. "I am Transformerbot. I transform byproducts and waste materials creatively into new products for better environmental value." The robot introduced himself with a bow. "However, time has rusted my arms and legs, and I am not as agile as I was before in carrying out my duties," he sighed. "Young warrior, will you be the one to step up and save your planet?" I looked into his earnest eyes and felt inspired by his call to action. "Leave it to me," I promised. I followed his instructions to sort out the rubbish according to its respective materials. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Aluminum cans were placed together in a pile, paper waste into another pile, and plastic bags were placed separately. Delighted, I proudly announced, "Transformerbot, I have finished the task of sorting that you assigned me." Transformerbot stared at my quick work in amazement and commended my efforts. "Now, we will proceed to send aluminum cans to the incinerator, and these will be melted down for further purposes. Paper waste can be recycled to make new paper and used to make new books. However, plastic bags are non-biodegradable, and the only way to recycle it is to reduce its usage." Hearing the words of Recyclebot, I felt discouraged and upset about the fate of plastic bags. Not only were plastic bags dangerous to marine life, they also gave off harmful gases, which caused the depletion of the ozone layer. "Don't worry, Transformerbot. I'll make sure to spread the word to reduce plastic usage." Transformerbot flashed a wide grin at me and replied, "I have faith in humans. Recycling begins with you."
I can be a superhero too. Inspired by Muhammad Mikhail Irfan, Muhammad Abbas, and Muhammad Akmal. Welcome to Seashells on the Seashore. We are very excited to have you here with us on this community service project to pick up litter on the beaches and restore the picturesque beauty of our sandy beaches. Once again, thank you for volunteering and have a great day ahead, boomed the voice of the MC for the Eco Carnival. As Jessica and her friends surveyed their surroundings, they realized the amount of litter polluting the once beautiful beach. Oh no, there is so much litter around. How can we possibly clean everything by the end of the day? If only we had a superhero who could help us with this, wished Jessica in desperation. Did somebody call for me? Asked a gentle voice. Jessica and her friends gasped in surprise. A dashing man with a colorful rainbow cape appeared suddenly. I am Mr. 3R. I heard your plea for help. How may I assist you? He smiled cheerfully. Without hesitation, Jessica and her friends told Mr. 3R about the community service project. You've come to the right person. Do you see this sword? It's called the Sword of Restoration. For every responsible act of litter binning, the power of the sword increases. When this happens, the energy to reduce, reuse, and recycle litter is harnessed, explained Mr. 3R. Embarking on their task with renewed energy, Jessica and her friends collected rubbish around them and threw the litter into the nearest bin. Instantly, the Sword of Restoration lit up to a bright neon orange. With a powerful swing of the sword, the litter around Mr. 3R vanished, and new sprouts of grass and pretty flowers grew. That's so amazing! We want to be able to do that as well, said Jessica's friends in admiration. Mr. 3R laughed in response and exclaimed, Yes, you can do that too, by reducing, reusing, and recycling your litter. That way, you also get a cleaner and greener environment for everyone. You can be a superhero to Mother Earth too. Jessica and her friends remembered the words of Mr. 3R from that day forth. They spread his advice to their friends and family members. With each act of throwing litter into the respective recycling bins, Jessica and her friends became superheroes in their own unique ways.
The Little Botanist, written by Chris Chu. Hello, it's me, the Little Botanist. I have always wanted to explore, and my greatest wish is to know and see more. But one day, I woke up confused. Getting up from my bed, I decided to feed my jay. But to my dismay, I left the cage open by mistake. He vanished and I felt bad, but as he was free, I was also glad. Packing the cheesecake that my lovely mother made, I arrived at the forest, exploring new plants, peering at the sun through tinted lens. Then amongst the birds, I saw my jay. It was my beloved bird. Hooray! On this adventure, we started a song. Some paths are smooth, others are rough. It's the way you brave the bumpy trails that counts. Here's wishing you well. Bonne journée until we meet again. Bonne journée to you. Keep smiling till then. We are out for a picnic. Written by Chris Chu. We are having a picnic today. We'll meet at the same place. Some of us will travel from far away. We each have a basket filled with sandwiches, fruits, and juices. With the family together, it will be fantastic. Around my neck is my camera to capture our moments of adventure. I pray the weather will be fair and the day filled with smiles. A day filled with sunshine is precious when it makes us smile. A basket filled with laughter, with fun and giggles that will last a while. Long after the sun goes down, long after we kiss goodbye, we'll still feel happy and blessed forever. The lad refused to eat his vegetables. Suddenly, a little rabbit with a small carrot appeared. Carrots orange, long and bright, make my snowman's nose tonight. Carrots shredded thin and fair, make a lovely layered orange hair. Carrots crunchy, cold and sweet, make my favorite snack to eat. So, remember kids, one vegetable a day keeps the doctor away.
Crystal plants. Colorful, pretty, and small. Ready to see the world and all. You may not think I can do much, but like my botanist, I am special, bringing joy with my beautiful petals. Like my young botanist, I can make a difference. My dream is for us little ones to do our part. Let's keep our world happy. Use our voices to raise awareness. That's a start.
Sonnet from the Butterfly's Nest, inspired by Muhammad Ilhan Amanthi. A butterfly flies swiftly through the sky, and as it flies, it hears the chirping birds. The birds then join the butterfly and fly until they see a plant that's beyond words. A mysterious plant it surely is. It really looks just like a butterfly, all bright and colorful indeed, because each day it dreams of being a butterfly. "Come leave your eggs in here with me," it said. "I'll watch them grow into caterpillars, and as they grow, they'll feed on me instead. I just need water from those sturdy stalks." Indeed, this plant is a special butterfly's haven that truly loves Amanthi and all fair maidens. Money Plant, inspired by Mohammed Arman. Money for me, money for you, money for the entire world. Our environment can be saved with this money plant and equipment I bought to help protect Earth. Everyone knows I'm the coolest inventor and the best of the best. You and I will be rich in happiness. That is my wish for all.
Super Growing Plant, inspired by Jared Wong. Saving the world with the super trees up in the sky, leaves moving in the wind. That's where we will be. People from all over the world will know who we are. Excited for us to grow in number and help those near and far. Ready to be there for you and me. Kindness Plant, inspired by Shaza Chanel. Kindness and care, that is what I need. I drink lots of water from rainfalls to make strong and healthy seeds. Though spreading joy and love to those around me is what I love to do. The earth has been getting too hot for me, and it is difficult for me to keep cool. Let's start by wasting less energy. You have the power to keep me strong.
Spotty the Owl, inspired by Nurul Fasha Amira.
The story of an owl named Spotty. Spotty was an olive yellow owl with brown spots, like a leopard. It lived in the trees in South Korea's forests. Spotty loved to eat fish, rats, and grapes. It was a sweltering day in the middle of July in Seoul. Spotty had just finished a feast of tasty grapes and was resting on a tree branch. He slowly closed his eyes and felt the wind gently rustling his feathers. These precious feathers were the reason why his species had become endangered. Coveting the valuable feathers, selfish human beings have been preying on owls to use their feathers for decoration. The owl poachers were a threat to Spotty and all his friends. They hunted down the locations of the owls, then shot them with stun guns so that they could pluck the owl's feathers. Spotty shook his head sadly. Suddenly, he heard a rustling sound in the bushes. Spotty's eyes opened wide in fear. He looked around, careful not to make a sound. When he heard a rustling sound from his left, he turned his head quickly to the left. There was no one. When he heard another rustling sound on his right, he turned his head quickly to the right. But there was no one there either. That's strange, Spotty thought. Oh well, maybe it was just the wind blowing through the leaves of the bushes. Suddenly, there was a loud crack from the tree branches behind him. Before Spotty could react, he saw a large net fly over his head. Horrified, Spotty tried to fly away. But the harder he flapped his wings, the more he got entangled in the net. He was trapped. He saw a group of human beings holding on to the net. They started to pull the net towards the ground. Spotty had no choice but to stop struggling and give in. Slowly, the human beings lowered the net to the ground. One of the human beings took hold of Spotty and placed him in a metal cage. Then they carried him to a vehicle. Spotty felt the rumble of the vehicle's engine. Where were they bringing him? He shivered with trepidation. After a long while, Spotty felt the engine stop. The door next to him opened. One of the human beings carried him out of the vehicle. They brought him up a flight of stairs and into a building. Spotty saw some white tigers looking at him hungrily from behind a glass panel as he was carried past them. He looked away nervously. He also saw an orangutan and a pangolin. They looked curiously at him from behind the glass panels. The human being then put Spotty's cage in the middle of a cold room. Wow! It went from summer to winter in an instant, he thought. The human being opened the cage door and gently carried Spotty out of the cage. Spotty was relieved to be free from that cramped environment. He quickly spread his wings to reach them. The human being walked briskly and opened a door to reveal a forest, just like the one he lived in. The human being put Spotty on a tree branch and carefully took a few steps back. Spotty took a look at his new environment. There were lots of trees just like before, but there was a tall green fence surrounding the place. A brown barn owl flew towards the branch that Spotty was on. "Hello, you must be new here. I'm Bobby," the other owl said. What is this place?" Spotty hooted. He was very confused. "Oh, don't worry. In this place you're given food, regular baths, and most importantly, you're safe from poachers," Bobby said. "Really? Why?" Spotty asked. "Because animals like us are highly sought after by hunters, silly. By keeping us in here, these good human beings will keep us from becoming extinct," Bobby replied. Spotty was in awe, especially for your breed. If I'm not wrong, I heard there are only 56 of you olive yellow owls with brown spots like a leopard remaining on Earth, Bobby added. "Oh, wow. So I'm really safe here?" Spotty asked. "Yes, you will be well taken care of over here. Trust me," Bobby said. Spotty nodded. "Come, let me show you around the place, and you can meet the other owls," Bobby said. Spotty followed Bobby to meet his new friends and had a tour around his new home.
Marcus's Dragon Scar, inspired by Sean Ng. Walruses live in a faraway Iceland at the North Pole. They love to eat fish and exhaust a lot of energy to swim and hunt. When they are not hunting, the walruses spend their time busking on ice. These walruses have long tusks to protect themselves and intimidate their enemies. Marcus, together with his parents, were swimming and looking for a school of fish as he was learning to hunt. They were on a search for their feast when they came across a foreign object floating on the icy water. They never saw a ship before, and their curiosity brought them near the ship. The walruses had no idea of the imminent danger, as poachers on board were in pursuit of their ivory tusks. As they explored the outside of the ship, they could see shadows following their movements. Splash, splash, splash. A series of harpoons pierced the water. With quick reflexes, Daddy and Mummy Walrus shielded Marcus from the harpoons and swiftly pushed Marcus into the water currents, away from the poachers. Marcus reached out helplessly to his parents, who were being reeled onto the ship. Marcus was carried by the currents to an icy shore. He woke up and whimpered over the loss of his parents. The pain from his injuries cut him deeply during the mayhem. Fortunately, there was a kind Eskimo who heard Marcus's wails of distress. He quickly treated Marcus's injuries and reported the incident to the Marine security. They were able to apprehend the poachers just in time before Marcus's parents and the other captured walruses were sold to an illegal trader. The Marine security reported that it was one of the biggest wildlife trafficking cases in the past decade. The walruses were brought to a veterinarian for immediate medical attention and were cared for by kind volunteers. Good news arrived shortly after. Marcus's home was designated as a conservation area. To date, you can still see Marcus with his dragon-like scar from his injury, swimming in the deep blue ocean. His scar will always remind him of how lucky he was to survive that ordeal.
Sammy, the leatherback turtle, inspired by Danish Hillman. The sea sparkled under the glistening sun, and the gentle waves called out to Sammy, which paddled forward with his flippers. Sammy was a leatherback turtle, and he was as old as time. His emerald green skin was a lovely contrast to his bronze shell, which had a spiral of black down the middle and deep chocolate brown along the sides. Although the years had worn Sammy down, and he was a little slower and clumsier now, he was still as majestic as ever. Born on the shores of Malaysia, there were only a few hundred of his kind left. Many of his friends had been ensnared by fishing nets or hunted for their eggs. He was lucky to be roaming the seas at his ripe old age. Minutes ticked into hours as Sammy was soon exhausted. His face lit up when he came across a little beach along the coast. From a distance, he saw broken bottles and plastic bags dotting the golden sands. However, he was too tired and threw caution to the wind. Little did he know that misfortune would soon befall him. As Sammy swam towards the shore, he let out an unexpected cry when he felt a vice-like grip take hold of him. It tugged him backwards once, twice, and a third time. It took Sammy moments to realize that the very thing he had feared his entire life was happening to him. He was trapped in a fishing net with no escape. His heart stuttered in his chest as the rough rope gnawed at his skin. He tried to fight through the fog of pain, soft whimpers escaping his lips. Unfortunately, it was becoming increasingly difficult for Sammy to breathe. It was also growing eerily quiet all around him. With his last ounce of energy, Sammy dragged himself ashore, a shred of broken glass digging deep into his flipper. Then his world gave way to darkness. Fortunately for Sammy, Lady Luck was shining down on him. A little child called Tommy was running along that stretch of beach at that very moment. Tommy was a kind-hearted boy and loved nature. He loved the sea, and he loved all the creatures within. When he caught sight of Sammy, he willed his feet forward to have a closer look, despite fear coursing through his veins at the sight of the gigantic turtle. He reached Sammy's frail body and heaved a sigh of relief when he realized that Sammy's chest was still rising and falling. The boy tried desperately to untangle the fishing net with his bare hands. Unfortunately, the knots were too tight. Tears welled up his eyes as he watched the helpless turtle suffer in pain. On learning the news, other villagers soon stepped forward to help. One villager whipped out a pair of garden scissors, while another raised a bright red axe in the air. The two men nipped and slashed through the thick rope with all their might. After long, agonizing moments, Sammy was finally released from his makeshift prison. As Tommy cradled him in his arms and tended to his wounds, Sammy slowly opened his eyes and gave the boy a grateful smile. The entire ordeal was caught on camera and was posted on Facebook. It went viral and drew the attention of local government officials who were ashamed that they had allowed mountains of litter to pile up on their beach. The careless fisherman who had left his fishing net to dry on the shore was also remorseful that his actions had endangered poor Sammy. As a community, the people gathered together for a massive beach cleanup which took weeks to complete. Tommy was grateful as the leatherback turtles were now one step further from extinction. Somewhere out there, in the deep blue sea, Sammy is still swimming on, a little slower, a little clumsier, but still as majestic as ever. The end.
Peachy and Her Peanuts, inspired by Cynthia Fong. Tap, tap, tap. Everywhere Peachy went, the staccato beat would follow. Day in and day out, the little prickly creature could be seen with a peanut between her paws, tap, tap, tapping away on the forest floor. Despite her small size, Peachy could eat up a storm. Her favorite snack in the world was, yes, you guessed it, peanuts. She loved them freshly roasted under the summer sun, sprinkled with a little salt. Her crescent moon eyes would flutter shut from just the smell of peanuts floating in the air. One could say she was a little obsessed, but Peachy would never admit it. Oh no, never indeed. The forest which Peachy lived in was home to magnificent maple trees, wildflowers, and peanuts of all shapes and sizes. There were thousands of Peachy's kinds, and the forest was their haven. They felt safe there, for they never hungered. However, as the seasons changed drastically over the years, the trees and flowers could not keep up. They withered away, and the once beautiful and lush forest became a shadow of its former self. Light no longer danced across the enchanted woods, and the peanuts shriveled up one by one. All that was left was empty shells all over the forest floor. Peachy spent weeks hiding away in her cave filled with her stash of peanuts, too afraid to share them with her friends. One by one, Peachy's friends left the forest to find greener pastures. On the day that the last of Peachy's friends left, guilt overwhelmed her. That very night she tossed and turned under her leaf, unable to sleep. Peachy resolved to find a solution. Bright and early the next morning she gathered all her peanuts into her arms and curled away into a tight little ball. Then she rolled and rolled away towards the very edge of the forest, where she hoped fertile soil would still remain. She carefully planted 11 of her biggest peanuts there and nudged them firmly into the ground. With her purple watering can, a beloved gift from her great-grandmother, Peachy watered them faithfully every single day. She even collected large, crinkly leaves to shield the buds when the sun was too scorching hot and the rain too bitterly cold. She watched as her plants grew, and her heart burst with joy when she unearthed her first harvest. Her efforts had paid off, and now she knew she would never run out of peanuts ever again. With a bounce, Peachy sped off to share the good news. She knew her friends would rejoice in their newfound home. Every sunlit day of late spring, Peachy and her friends would harvest many glistening peanuts as big as watermelons. They would store away half of the harvest, These peanuts would always remind them of an important lesson: to save for a rainy day.
Conserve Wild Cats, inspired by Muhammad Izzul Jawadi. Creatures of the earth walk regally, 1 step, 2 steps. Natural heat causes sweat to trickle down their foreheads. Eyes on the money for their game, readying guns. Poachers identify their prey, verifying their targets, their weapons discharge. Earths to become an open grave in seconds. Why do I not feel the blood running through my veins anymore? Is it the end of my living days? Do you know I am the last of my kind? Cruel, a species gone. Such a shame. There's nothing worse than being too late to save our planet from extinction. Dragons, inspired by Muhammad Zuraimi. Dragons hide away in a mystical land, in the hearts of thundering waterfalls. Rasping breath of my ancestors had no more sparks, as he repeated the final story of his brother Komodo. Going beyond the waterfall boundaries, where humans clipped off his wings, no one has ever seen him again. Someday, maybe, a dragon's curiosity might take flight beneath the curtain of water and come back with a story to tell. Help Horses, inspired by Irfan Aquil. Hues of the setting sun shone on the beautiful stallion, Ole. Evergreen trees shivered in the blowing breeze as he recalled his youth. Like wildfire, he galloped hard, his hoofs swift like arrows, perfect silhouette forging ahead, leaving the rest to dust. His aged legs now shaky, his breathing heavy. Ole, 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 ole. The crowd roared. Rapidly plunging forward, he lunged powerfully to the finish line. Snap! A sharp pain shot up Ole's leg like fire. Elite competitor he once was. Such majesty, now unable to race. A mere shadow of the once great Ole.
Page 59. This poem is entitled Protect Pandas, inspired by Dianisha Hanez and Muhammad Fahim. Pandas spend their lives eating and sleeping, relaxing in bamboo forests of southwest China. They are omnivores and can consume plants and meat. They live till about 20 years in the wild, endangered they once were, caused by farming and logging. The perpetrator? Make a guess. Pandas are cute and chubby as they keep accumulating fats because none of them likes to exercise. Dark and light, black and white, act now to preserve these furry friends. Save them, or else they will end up as history to future generations. Page 60. This poem is entitled Save Sharks, inspired by Nur Huzaira. Sea monsters, we are called. Are you sure? We are hunted by humans who removed our valuable fins and tossed us back into the ocean, drowning to fill a bowl of extinction soup. Save us. You have the power to stop hurting my family and friends. Remind everyone not to buy shark's fin. Be kind to me so my species can survive.
The Young Marine Animal Rescuers, inspired by Ahmedra Lissa and Mohammad Ramadan. Malia, Marlin and their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Chan, love to frequent the beach during the June holidays. One Sunday, Mr. Chan decided to teach Marlin how to fish, while Mrs. Chan decided to teach Malia how to swim. Malia and the tiny turtle. Daddy, I think I have caught a fish, Merlin shouted excitedly. Seeing that Merlin's fishing line was taut, Mr. Chan helped his son to reel the fish in. However, to their astonishment, Merlin had not caught a fish at all. Instead, at the end of the hook was what looked to be a big plastic bag. Or so they thought. Help me! Help me! I'm stuck! A tiny voice squeaked from within the plastic bag. I think there's something in the plastic bag, cried Marilyn, as he detached the plastic bag from the fishing hook. Lifting the mysterious object for his father to see, Merlin realized there was a tiny turtle in the plastic bag. Thank you for helping me, little boy, said the tiny turtle. Now I can finally swim home. Patting the turtle's shell, Marilyn smiled and gently lowered it back into the ocean. Then, taking the plastic bag, Merlin deposited it into the nearest recycling bin once he got back to land. Upon seeing this, Mr. Chan praised him and remarked, if everyone did their part to recycle and dispose of their rubbish responsibly, no more marine animals would be harmed by the floating debris. Malia and the small seagull. Meanwhile, in the shallow waters near the shore, Mrs. Chan was teaching Malia how to tread water. As Malia was treading water, she heard some squawking from some rocks nearby. Tugging her mother along, Malia waded closer to the rocks and discovered a small seagull squawking in pain. Help! I've injured my foot, cried the fragile seagull. Upon closer observation, Mrs. Chan and Malia realized that the seagull had stepped on fragments of a broken glass bottle and injured itself. Seeing this, Malia sprinted back to the shore to fetch the family's first aid kit. Then, Malia watched anxiously as her mother used a pair of tweezers to remove the pieces of glass from the seagull's left foot and bandaged it. Thank you for helping me, kind girl, said the seagull. Now I can join my flock and fly high in the sky. Malia waved and bid the small seagull goodbye. Then, using the pair of tweezers, Malia carefully collected the pieces of broken glass and placed them on the leftover cloth. Tying the makeshift cloth back securely, Malia and Mrs. Tan waded back to the shop. Depositing the pieces of the glass into the nearby recycling bin, returning the cloth to her mother, Malia reflected, from today onwards, I'll do my part to protect marine animals by cherishing the environment through the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Friends forever. Here's a short, sweet story about a nice girl called Lovey, who was adored by all she knew. She fell suddenly ill and had to stay home till a month and a day went by. Friends from school came to visit, brought flowers, cards, and a movie ticket because they wanted her up and about soon. Get well soon wishes and colourful artwork on gaily hued cards brought a smile to her face. She's better already with the love she received. She hoped one thing that will never change is the innocent sincerity of her childhood days. You can be whoever you want to be. I prayed for a daughter so I could do all these girly activities with you. Things I would never have had the chance to do with your brothers. Avery's mother smiled as she braided Avery's pigtails before slipping her daughter into a dress. She had chosen the frilly pink frock specially to celebrate the Christmas dinner with the family. However, if you knew Avery Smith, she was not the usual girl that one would expect. Avery loved to play soccer. She enjoyed watching her school soccer team chase the ball around the field every other day. She excitedly joined her father and brothers in their soccer practices every weekend. Her mother would frown in disapproval, labeling soccer a boys' game and an activity that was unsuited for well-behaved girls. Their home was beautifully decorated for Christmas celebrations. There were bright twills on the walls, a huge Christmas tree, and a scrumptious spread across the dinner table. Every year, Avery easily guessed which present was hers. Amongst the conservatively wrapped ones, hers would be in pink wrapper with pink ribbons. She shrugged and walked to the front porch while waiting for dinner to be served. Perched on the balcony railing, she saw her neighbor Alex pirouetting. She watched Alex perform his ballet piece, oblivious to his audience, and finally ending with a grand jeté. Avery found herself holding her breath in awe, clapping when it ended. Alex glanced at Avery and glided effortlessly towards her. I was picked for my school's Swan Lake performance, and my mother congratulated me by giving me a pair of new ballet flats for Christmas, Alex announced proudly. Flashing his new satin shoes at her, he continued, I know you are thinking, what is a boy doing dancing ballet? However, I think otherwise. Ballet is an art form where you express your emotions through movements. It takes countless hours of practice to perfect a dance routine. I would choose dance any time, even if the boys in school think I am a disgrace. Avery looked down with embarrassment. You are not a disgrace. Nobody who accepts who they are is ever a disgrace, she added. I feel embarrassed trying for the soccer team because I am afraid I can't outrun the bigger boys. The boys in my school laughed at me when I tried for the team earlier. They commented that soccer is not a game for girls. Nonsense! I am the only boy in my ballet class. Many told me that dancing is for girls and boys who dance are sissies. Do not get influenced by what others think. Keep your head up. Please promise me you'll hold on to your dreams. Alex stuck out his pinky finger. Avery felt encouraged that she found her first supporter. She linked her pinky finger with his and promised that she would hold true to her dreams. Avery, Mrs. Smith called. Uh-oh. Thank you, Alex. I have to go. Mom is calling me back for dinner. Avery waved goodbye to Alex. At the dinner table, Avery's thoughts drifted to her earlier conversation with Alex. She did not pay attention to the jokes or conversations over the dinner table. A penny for your thoughts, Avery? Asked her mother. Avery seized the opportunity to say, Mom, I love soccer, and I want to try out for the school's soccer team. Everyone at the table, especially Mrs. Smith, was taken aback by the sudden announcement. She looked at Avery's father and slowly walked up to the table that was filled with presents. She picked up a present wrapped in pink and handed it to Avery. As Avery unwrapped her present, her eyes widened in surprise. "This soccer ball is for you. I saw you the other day in school trying to score a goal. You tried so many times despite being laughed at by a group of boys. I was so proud of you. My child, I want you to keep practicing. I believe in you. Here, have this too. This is from your father."
Mrs. Smith handed Avery a rolled-up present, unravelling a poster of Mia Hamm, considered to be the best female soccer player in history. It was in Mr. Smith's study for the longest time. Her father scooped his little girl into his arms and whispered, "Be the Mia of your school's soccer team. Do us Smiths proud." That night, the Smiths watched the replay of Mia Hamm's debut for the United States women's national soccer team when she was just 15 years old. It was a memorable Christmas night of love and acceptance. Avery trained hard and made it into a school team the following year. You see, the principal of the school was forming a female soccer team. She is still her mother's princess, dressing in tiaras and pink fluffy dresses sometimes. She learned that she did not have to be a boy to learn how to pass a ball, skip in puddles, and score a goal. Alex too became a star in his school. His Swan Lake performance was well received. He proved how outdated the stigma was of boys dancing ballet. Incidentally, Alex enjoyed soccer too. He just loved ballet more. Occasionally, you can see Alex with Avery at the soccer field playing ballet soccer.
This poem is entitled Haiku of a Dog's Week by Yap Su Yin. Monday. I am a puppy, headed to the hills to play, loving sunny days. Tuesday. My shadow gambols, up, down, twirling in circles, watch us dance and prance. Wednesday. A lazy siesta. It's too humid to do more. I dream of action. Thursday. I buried 2 bones. They are my perk-me-up snack. Hope I remember. Friday. Splash into the lake. Drenched, my brown fur clings to me. On shore, I shake dry. Saturday. Go, go, go! Caught you! Where's my ball vanished to? I love Saturdays. Sunday. It rains. I am bored. Oh, my furry neighbor visits. I am thrilled once more.
The Greatest Gift of All, written by Ignatius Pereira. "Don't forget your anklet," Aunt Jess said to her niece Priska. "I'm already wearing it, Aunt Jess," Priska replied, amused that her aunt was oblivious to the tinkling sound it made whenever she made a step. "Oh yes, silly me. I hadn't noticed it. Well, since you are ready, let's make our way to school now," Aunt Jess said with a smile back at Priska. She was happy that she was able to send Priska to school today. Ever since Priska's parents died some years ago, Aunt Jess had taken it upon herself to provide for Priska. She often worked double shifts at the post office just to make ends meet. Today was an important day at school. As part of a show and tell lesson, Priska and her classmates had to deliver a presentation in front of their family and classmates. Arriving at the school's hall, Priska looked around at her class and wondered what her classmates had brought for the presentation. Peter, the son of a rich businessman, was said to have brought along his newest mobile phone. Mrs. Brown, the class form teacher, reminded her students, "You will have to describe why the item you brought is the best gift you've had." Soon, the presentations began. Sure enough, Peter volunteered to be the first to showcase his gadget. This is the best gift I had because it is the newest model that was just released and I am the only one in school who possesses it, Peter boasted. Next, it was the town mayor's son, Joey's turn. He proceeded to brag about receiving a foreign-looking brooch from an exotic holiday with his family. A noble man in Poland presented it to my family, Joey said smugly. Only people with great affluence may possess it. Finally, it was Priska's turn to share. Looking at Peter's expensive phone and Joey's fancy brooch made Priska feel inferior to her peers. However, her spirits were lifted when she spotted her Aunt Jess in the crowd cheering her on. She smiled to herself, reached out to her leg, removed her anklet and lifted it up for everyone to see. "This is actually the greatest gift that I ever received," Priska told everyone present. "You see, my parents died when I was really little, and it was my Aunt Jess who raised me. She brought me this anklet after saving up from working double shifts. Although the anklet may seem inexpensive, I will forever cherish this as it represents my aunt's love for me. That is the most precious gift to me." At once, everyone in the hall stood up to give Priska a standing ovation. "Well done, Priska! You have taught us all the importance of humility and family," Mrs. Brown said. Aunt Jess went over to hug Priska. With tears in her eyes, she said, "I am so proud of you, Priska." Let us all cherish our family, for the love of a family is truly life's greatest gift of all.